What happens when one of Hollywood's most respected actors sits down with daytime television's most controversial panel and everything goes completely off the rails? You're about to witness a clash that nobody saw coming, a heated exchange that spiraled so far out of control that security had to get involved. Before we dive into this explosive confrontation, make sure to hit that subscribe button and let me know in the comments what you think really triggered this entire meltdown. The studio lights were blazing as Denzel Washington walked onto the View set, his usual calm confidence radiating as he settled into the guest chair. The audience erupted in applause, clearly thrilled to see the Academy Award winner. Whoopi Goldberg, serving as moderator, welcomed him with her trademark warmth. "Denzel, thank you so much for being here. We're so excited to talk about your new film," Whoopi said, her voice carrying genuine enthusiasm. "Thank you for having me, Whoopi. Always a pleasure," Denzel replied, that familiar smile spreading across his face as he adjusted his suit jacket. Sunny Hostin leaned forward, her expression bright. "Denzel, your new movie tackles some really complex social issues. What drew you to this particular story?" "Well, Sunny, I've always been drawn to stories that challenge audiences to think differently. This film explores themes of redemption and second chances, something I think we all need more of in our society," Denzel explained thoughtfully. Sarah Haynes nodded appreciatively. "The performances look incredible from what we've seen in the trailers. How do you prepare for such emotionally demanding roles?" "It's all about finding the truth in the character, Sarah. You have to dig deep, sometimes into uncomfortable places, to bring authenticity to the screen," Denzel said, his tone becoming more serious. Alyssa Farah Griffin chimed in. "Speaking of authenticity, you've been very vocal about the importance of positive role models in Hollywood. Do you think the industry is moving in the right direction?" Denzel paused, choosing his words carefully. "I think there's always room for improvement, Alyssa. We have a responsibility as storytellers to uplift and inspire, not just entertain." Up until this point, the conversation had been flowing smoothly, with each panelist engaging respectfully with their guest. But then Joy Behar, who had been unusually quiet, suddenly interjected with a sharp edge to her voice. "That's all well and good, Denzel, but let's talk about something more current. Your recent comments about personal responsibility in communities have been criticized by some as being tone deaf. How do you respond to that?" The studio seemed to grow quieter as Denzel turned his attention to Joy, his expression remaining composed, but his eyes showing a flicker of surprise at the abrupt shift in tone. "I'm not sure what you're referring to specifically, Joy. I've always believed in the power of taking control of your own destiny, regardless of circumstances," Denzel replied evenly. Joy's voice grew more confrontational. "Come on, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You've suggested that people in struggling communities just need to work harder, as if systemic issues don't exist. Isn't that pretty privileged coming from someone in your position?" Whoopi shifted uncomfortably in her chair, clearly sensing the tension building. "Joy, maybe we should focus on the film," but Joy wasn't backing down. "No, I think this is important. Here's someone who grew up with advantages telling people who face real barriers that they just need to try harder. Don't you think that's problematic?" Denzel's jaw tightened slightly, though his voice remained controlled. "With respect, Joy, I think you're mischaracterizing what I've said. I grew up in Mount Vernon, New York. My father was a minister, my mother worked multiple jobs. We weren't wealthy. But you had a stable family structure, you had opportunities," Joy shot back. "Not everyone has that luxury." The other panelists were now looking increasingly uncomfortable. Sunny tried to interject. "Perhaps we could discuss how your upbringing influenced your approach to your craft." Joy cut her off. "No, I want to hear Denzel explain how someone working 3 minimum wage jobs just needs to work harder to achieve success." Denzel leaned forward, his patience clearly being tested. "Joy, I never said that. What I have said is that personal responsibility and community support go hand in hand. You can't have one without the other." "That sounds like code to me," Joy replied dismissively. "Personal responsibility is often just a way to blame people for circumstances beyond their control." The tension in the studio was now palpable. Alyssa attempted to redirect. "Denzel, your philanthropic work speaks volumes about your commitment to helping others." But Joy wasn't finished. "Philanthropy is just charity. It doesn't address root causes. It's a band-aid on a broken system. Denzel's composure was beginning to crack. Joy, I've spent decades working with young people, building schools, creating opportunities. What exactly have you done besides sit behind this desk and criticize people who are actually making a difference? The audience gasped audibly. Whoopi quickly jumped in. Okay, let's all take a breath here. But Joy's face had turned red with anger. Excuse me? I've been fighting for social justice longer than you've been making movies, buddy. Don't you dare question my credentials. I'm not questioning your credentials, Denzel replied, his voice rising slightly. I'm questioning your approach. Tearing people down instead of building them up isn't helping anyone. Joy slammed her hand on the table. I'm not tearing anyone down. I'm holding people accountable for their words and actions, something this industry clearly doesn't do enough of. Sarah tried desperately to mediate. Maybe we can find some common ground here. You both care about making positive change. There's no common ground with someone who thinks poor people just need to bootstrap their way out of poverty. Joy snapped, completely ignoring Sarah's attempt at peacemaking. Denzel stood up abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. That's not what I think, and that's not what I said. But clearly you're more interested in creating conflict than having an actual conversation. The camera crew was now zooming in, capturing every moment of the escalating confrontation. Whoopi was frantically signaling to the producers off stage, while the other panelists sat frozen, unsure how to respond. Joy also stood, pointing an accusing finger at Denzel. The truth hurts, doesn't it? You can't handle being called out on. Your privileged perspective. Privilege? Denzel's voice was now clearly angry. You want to talk about privilege? You've been sitting in this chair for years, making millions of dollars while criticizing everyone else. When's the last time you actually set foot in the communities you claim to care so much about? The studio audience was now completely silent, watching in shock as two prominent figures engaged in what was clearly becoming a very personal battle. Production assistants were moving around the edges of the set, clearly receiving instructions through their headsets. Joy's face contorted with fury as she shot back. Don't you dare lecture me about community involvement. I've been using this platform to fight for the underrepresented long before it was trendy in Hollywood. Fighting. Denzel laughed bitterly. Is that what you call this? Attacking guests who come on your show in good faith? This isn't fighting for anyone. This is grandstanding. Whoopi finally found her voice, trying to regain control. Okay, everybody needs to calm down right now. We're going to take a commercial break. No. Joy interrupted sharply, not taking her eyes off Denzel. We're not done here. I want to know why you think your success story should be the blueprint for everyone else. Denzel shook his head in disbelief. You're putting words in my mouth. That I never said. I've never claimed my path is the only path. What I've said is that giving up is not an option. That's easy to say when you've never really struggled. Joy fired back. Never struggled? Denzel's voice rose another octave. You have no idea what you're talking about. You sit here in your comfortable studio, collecting your paycheck, making assumptions about people's lives. Sunny finally spoke up, her voice shaking slightly. Joy, maybe we should listen to what Denzel is actually trying to say instead of attacking him. Joy whipped around to face Sunny. Oh, so now you're taking his side? Typical. The moment someone with star power walks in here, everyone forgets about having a backbone. I'm not taking anyone's side, Sunny replied, clearly flustered. I'm trying to have a productive conversation. Productive? Joy's voice dripped with sarcasm. What's productive about letting celebrities come on here and spout their out-of-touch philosophies without challenge? Alyssa tried to jump in. Joy, I think there's a difference between challenging someone's views and personally attacking them. Joy turned her venom toward Alyssa. Personal attacks? I'm asking legitimate questions about his public statements. If he can't handle that, maybe he shouldn't be making those statements. I can handle questions, Denzel interjected, his voice now ice cold. What I can't handle is deliberate misrepresentation of my words and character assassination disguised as journalism. Character assassination? Joy laughed harshly. You're the one who came in here acting like you're above criticism. Sarah, looking visibly distressed, attempted another intervention. Can we please just take a step back? We're all on the same side here. We all want to make the world better. No, we're not all on the same side. Joy snapped. Some of us are willing to ask hard questions, and others just want to maintain their public image. Denzel stepped closer. To the panel table, his hands clenched at his sides. You want to ask hard questions? Fine. Here's a hard question for you, Joy. When's the last time you've done anything constructive instead of just tearing people down on television? The audience was now murmuring among themselves, some people pulling out their phones to record. What was clearly becoming an unprecedented moment in daytime television history. Whoopi stood up, her voice stern. Denzel, Joy, both of you need to sit down right now. This has gone too far. But Joy was beyond reasoning. I'm not sitting down until he acknowledges that his privileged perspective doesn't apply to everyone. Privileged perspective. Denzel was incredulous. You want to know about privilege? You've been handed a platform to reach millions of people every day, and what do you do with it? You use it to attack and divide instead of inspire and unite. I use it to hold people accountable. Joy shot back. Something you're clearly not used to. Alyssa made another attempt at mediation. Joy, I think Denzel has been very gracious in trying to explain his position. Gracious? Joy turned on Alyssa again. He's been condescending from the moment he walked in here, acting like he's doing us a favor by gracing us with his presence. That's absolutely not true, Sarah protested. He's been nothing but respectful until you started attacking him. Attacking him? Joy's voice reached a new pitch. I'm doing my job. I'm asking the questions that need to be asked. Sunny shook her head. Joy, there's a difference between asking tough questions and being hostile. You've crossed that line. Don't lecture me about journalism, Sunny. I've been doing this longer than any of you. Denzel, who had been listening to this exchange with growing anger, finally exploded. This isn't journalism, Joy. This is ambush television. You brought me here under false pretenses just so you could grandstand. False pretenses. Joy's eyes flashed. We brought you here to promote your movie, and instead you've been pushing your bootstrap mentality. Bootstrap mentality. Denzel was now visibly shaking with anger. You have completely twisted everything I've said. I've talked about hope, about not giving up, about community support. How is that controversial? Because it ignores systemic racism and inequality, Joy declared, triumphantly, as if she'd scored a decisive point. Ignores it. Denzel's voice cracked with emotion. Lady, I've lived it. I've experienced it. I've fought against it my entire career. The difference is, I refuse to let it define me or limit what I can achieve. Joy smirked. And there it is. The classic, I made it, so anyone can make it argument. That's not what I said. Denzel slammed his hand on the table, causing everyone to jump. Stop putting words in my mouth. Whoopi was now frantically gesturing to the control booth. We need to go to commercial right now. But the confrontation had taken on a life of its own. Joy continued her assault. The truth is, you're uncomfortable being challenged by someone who won't kiss your ring. Kiss my ring. Denzel looked genuinely shocked. I came here to talk about a movie, and you've turned it into a political interrogation. Everything is political, Joy declared. Your movie, your message, your presence here. And I'm not going to pretend otherwise just to make you comfortable. Sarah was near tears. Joy, please, this isn't helping anyone. What would help, Joy said, her voice dripping with condescension, is if certain people would acknowledge their privilege instead of lecturing others about personal responsibility. Denzel took a deep breath, clearly trying to regain his composure. Joy, I'm going to try one more time to have a reasonable conversation with you. I believe in personal responsibility, because I've seen what happens when people give up hope. I've seen communities destroyed by despair. That doesn't mean I ignore systemic problems. It means I refuse to use them as an excuse to stop trying. Excuse. Joy's voice went up another octave. You just called systemic racism an excuse? That's not what I said. Denzel's composure finally shattered completely. You are deliberately twisting my words. The security guards were now moving closer to the set, clearly having received instructions. The other panelists were looking around nervously, unsure whether to continue trying to mediate or simply wait for the inevitable intervention. Joy, seeing she had finally broken through Denzel's calm exterior, pressed her advantage. I'm not twisting anything. I'm exposing the reality behind your feel-good message. Feel-good message. Denzel was now pointing directly at Joy. What's wrong with a message of hope? What's wrong with encouraging people to believe in themselves? Nothing, when it's not being used to dismiss real problems, Joy replied smugly. Alyssa made one final attempt. Joy, I think you're misinterpreting what Denzel is trying to say. I don't need you to interpret for me. Joy snapped at Alyssa. I can hear perfectly well. The tension had now reached a breaking point, with security moving even closer and the production staff clearly in crisis mode behind the cameras. Whoopi finally stood up and slammed her hand on the table so hard that the sound echoed through the studio. Enough. Both of you, enough. This stops right now. But Joy was beyond listening to anyone, even Whoopi. No, it doesn't stop. Not until he admits that his success story narrative is harmful to people who face real barriers. Denzel turned to face the audience, his voice carrying across the studio. Ladies and gentlemen, I came here today to talk about a film that I'm proud of, a story about redemption and hope. Instead, I've been subjected to a character assassination by someone who seems more interested in creating controversy than having honest dialogue. The audience murmured their agreement, some even applauding Denzel's statement. This seemed to infuriate Joy even more. Character assassination? Joy's voice was now shrill. You can't handle being held accountable for your privileged worldview. Privileged worldview. Denzel whirled back around to face Joy. You want to know about privilege? You sit here every day with a national platform, making millions of dollars, and you use that privilege to attack people. That's privilege. Sunny stood up, her voice shaking with emotion. Joy, this has gone way too far. This isn't who we are. This isn't what this show is supposed to be about. Joy turned her fury on Sunny. Don't tell me what this show is about. I've been fighting the good fight since before you even knew what a television camera was. Fighting the good fight. Sarah's voice cracked as she spoke. This isn't fighting for anything. This is just cruelty. Cruelty. Joy laughed bitterly. What's cruel is letting celebrities come on here and spread their out-of-touch messages without challenge. Alyssa shook her head in disbelief. Joy, challenging someone's ideas is one thing. This is a personal attack, and it's wrong. Personal attack. Joy was now facing off against her own co-hosts. I'm doing my job while the rest of you are starstruck. Denzel stepped forward again, his voice now deadly calm. Joy, I've been in this business for over 4 decades. I've faced real criticism, real challenges, real adversity. But I've never encountered someone so determined to misrepresent everything I stand for. I'm not misrepresenting anything. Joy shot back. I'm exposing the truth behind your public persona. The truth. Denzel's laugh was cold. The truth is that you've decided to make me your villain today, regardless of what I actually say or believe. Whoopi was now frantically signaling to the producers. We're going to commercial right now. But Joy wasn't finished. The truth is that you can't handle being questioned by a woman who won't be intimidated by your star power. Intimidated. Denzel's eyes flashed. You think this is about intimidation? This is about basic human decency, something you seem to have forgotten. The security guards were now standing directly behind Denzel's chair, clearly ready to intervene. At a moment's notice, the other panelists were looking around desperately, hoping someone would end this nightmare. Joy pointed an accusing finger directly at Denzel. Human decency? What's indecent is using your platform to push a narrative that blames victims for their circumstances. Victims. Denzel's voice rose to match Joy's volume. I've never blamed any victims. I've encouraged people to be survivors, to be fighters, to never give up hope. Hope. Joy's voice dripped with sarcasm. Hope doesn't pay rent. Hope doesn't overcome systemic barriers. No, but giving up certainly doesn't either, Denzel fired back. And that's all you're offering people, reasons to give up. Sarah was now openly crying. Please, both of you, just stop. This is horrible. Joy glanced at Sarah with contempt. What's horrible is pretending everything is fine when it's not. Alyssa stood up and faced Joy directly. Joy, you're out of line. Way out of line. This man came here as our guest, and you're treating him like an enemy. He is an enemy, Joy declared. An enemy of progress, an enemy of honest dialogue about inequality. The audience gasped audibly at Joy's statement. Even some of the crew members were shaking their heads in disbelief. Denzel stared at Joy for a long moment, then spoke with quiet dignity. Joy, I feel sorry for you. I genuinely do. To be so consumed with anger and bitterness that you can't even have a civil conversation with someone who agrees with your goals, even if they disagree with your methods. Don't you dare feel sorry for me, Joy snarled. Save your pity for the people your message abandons. My message abandons no one, Denzel replied firmly. My message is that everyone has value. Everyone has potential, and everyone deserves hope. Pretty words, Joy sneered. But words don't change systems. Neither does attacking people who are trying to make a difference, Denzel countered. Whoopi finally had enough. She turned to the security guards and nodded. I think we need to end this interview now. The security guard stepped forward, but Denzel held up his hand. It's okay. I can see myself out. He turned to address the other panelists. Whoopi, Sunny, Sarah, Alyssa, thank you for trying to maintain some semblance of professionalism. I'm sorry your colleague decided to turn this into a circus. Joy stood up as Denzel prepared to leave. That's right. Run away when the questions get tough. Denzel stopped and turned back one final time. Joy, I've answered every question you've asked, despite your hostile tone and deliberate mischaracterizations. But I won't sit here and be abused by someone who's more interested in performance than progress. Abused. Joy's voice reached its highest pitch yet. You can't handle a strong woman asking you hard questions. I can handle strong women just fine, Denzel replied coolly. What I can't handle is someone who uses their platform to spread division and hatred instead of understanding and hope. As Denzel began walking toward the exit, Joy called after him. Don't let the door hit you on your privileged way out. Denzel paused at the edge of the set and addressed the audience one final time. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you'll still consider seeing the film we were supposed to discuss today. It's about the power of redemption and the importance of not giving up on people. Apparently, those are controversial concepts now. The audience erupted in applause as Denzel walked off the set with dignity intact. Behind him, chaos reigned. As the other panelists sat in stunned silence, Whoopi tried desperately to regain control. We're going to take a commercial break, and when we come back, but Joy interrupted one last time. When we come back, maybe we can have an honest discussion about celebrity privilege without the celebrity here to intimidate everyone. Sunny finally exploded. Joy, what is wrong with you? That man did nothing to deserve what you just did to him. What I did, Joy replied defiantly, was my job. Sarah was still crying. Your job is to interview guests, not destroy them. Alyssa shook her head in disgust. Joy, you've embarrassed yourself, you've embarrassed this show, and you've embarrassed all of us. I've exposed the truth, Joy declared, completely unrepentant. As the cameras finally cut to commercial, the damage was done. One of Hollywood's most respected actors had been driven from the set by a host who seemed more interested in creating conflict than conducting an interview. The studio audience sat in stunned silence, having witnessed something unprecedented in daytime television history. What started as a routine promotional interview had devolved into a public humiliation that would be talked about for years to come. That's the explosive confrontation that shocked the entertainment world and left viewers questioning everything they thought they knew about daytime television. What do you think was the real motivation behind this attack? Was it genuine journalism or something more personal? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more behind-the-scenes stories that the mainstream media won't tell you.